24 hours on, you're still seeing these slogans being raised and nothing being done to stop it, nothing being done to ensure that these open calls for violence will not be allowed, to send out a tough message to protesters who are trying to take law into their hands quite clearly. The BJP is in fact making it clear that we've cracked the whip against Raja Singh, suspending him for his comments against Prophet Muhammad. But they're also raising questions about these Sartan Se Juda slogans being raised across Hyderabad. Here's a reaction from BJP MP.
MIM हैदराबाद की पार्टी है और उसमें कॉर्पोरेटर स्तर का व्यक्ति कुछ बोले तो वो MIM अध्यक्ष देख लेना चाहिए। अभी देश में और प्रदेश में कविता जो है उसको और उनकी फैमिली को धन से जुदा करना चाहिए। देश का धन लूट रहे हैं ये खानदान, तो इस पे आप लोग भी ध्यान दीजिए। कॉर्पोरेटर स्तर का व्यक्ति जो भी कह रहा है ना, उस पे छोड़िए।
Let's take this across to Krishna Sagar of the BJP. Mr. Krishna Sagar, I'm sure you're seeing what's happening right now in Hyderabad. 24 hours, or rather 48 hours, we've been seeing protests happening across Hyderabad, and in repeated instances, these slogans of Sartan Se Juda, these open calls for violence being made.
Akshita, as I have been saying, that there is no action from Telangana police or Telangana government on MIM corporator or the leaders who are giving these and propagating this kind of a slogan, a barbaric slogan, in the heart of the city. And I don't understand why the Telangana government is being selective in arresting T. Raja Singh and not arresting the corporator of MIM.
But Mr. Krishna Sagar, as far as the TRS is concerned, they're saying that all of this has been instigated by the BJP, by Mr. Raja Singh. They're putting the onus on your party.
The party has taken its decision and there is a due process which is being followed. I think, we should welcome the prompt response prompt action by the party. But what is going on is unwarranted, and these protests are turning political, and it has certainly political sponsorship from TRS and MIM.
Okay, Mr. Krishna Sagar Rao, thank you for joining us here in India today. So the BJP is saying that these are politically sponsored, politically powered protests that are happening right now on the streets of Hyderabad. The reality is that no action has been taken against any of these protesters. This unruly mob that's resorted not just to violence and vandalism now on the streets of Hyderabad, but continues very brazenly to use beheading calls, to use slogans like Sartan Se Juda, and nothing is being done right now by the administration. Every representative of the TRS that we've spoken to has condemned it. They promised action, but we haven't seen it happening on the ground at all. The Telangana police right now is standing by and watching as these protests rage on. And there will be questions about what they're waiting for. Yes, Raja Singh, who made those comments against Prophet Muhammad, faced the law in the sense he was arrested. He was also released on bail 10 hours later. But there's been no action really against these protesters, many of whom have been identified. An AIMIM corporator, this influencer in Hyderabad, all of whom were at these protest sites raising these slogans. And despite that, no action being taken. Apurva Jayachandran is joining us live from Hyderabad. She's been reporting from one of these protest venues where effigies were being burnt, where again the Sartan Se Juda slogan was raised. Apurva, the BJP is saying that now these protests, the kind of agitations we're seeing in Hyderabad, has become political, that these are being fueled by the TRS and the AIMIM.
Akshita, it's interesting to see that, what has happened over the...
Seeing here, in fact, this is the kind of protest that we are seeing here in Hyderabad. So, Akshita, this is the kind of protest that we are seeing here in Hyderabad. This
kind of protest that we are seeing here in Hyderabad, this is just, a little bit...
We'll reconnect with Apurva to get us those updates. She's reporting from Old Hyderabad, where you're seeing protests continuing in several parts of the city as we speak. This has been the situation since last night. Since Raja Singh was released on bail, many of these protesters again hit the streets. They have all the rights to do so. But at the same time, it's not been peaceful at all. This mob vandalized a police vehicle. They were seen, in fact, setting effigies ablaze in the middle of the road, inconveniencing many, many locals. And now you're seeing also these kind of beheading threats being made with zero action by the Telangana police, by the Hyderabad police against all of these people who are resorting to open calls for violence on the streets of Hyderabad. And that's why questions are being asked right now of the government and the administration on how serious they are about the law and order situation in Hyderabad. And while these protests continue, there's been no action against many of those who've been identified as being a part of those agitation, many of those who were seen going on social media and showing off about the slogans, the Sartan Se Juda slogan that they are raising rather publicly. And there's zero fear of law clearly, and that's perhaps why they're going ahead and continuing to raise these slogans. In fact, one person who had resorted to this kind of sloganeering and then showed off about it, is the so-called influencer Syed Khashab in Hyderabad. Speaking to Shivarur, he once again justified raising the Sartan Se Juda slogan.
Syed, are you a Pakistani?
What did you ask?
Are you a Pakistani or are you an Indian?
Why do I have to say that to you?
I'm asking you, are you a Pakistani or are you an Indian?
Who are you to ask me that?
I am a journalist. I'm asking you, are you a Pakistani or an Indian? Because you were chanting Sartan Se Juda. You were chanting. One second. Hear my question. Hear my question.
You are a journalist.
Hear my question. Hear my question. Hear my question. Syed, hear my question. You chanted Sartan Se Juda outside, right? Do you know where that phrase is from?
No, please tell me.
Do you know where it's from?
No, please.
An extremist Islamist organization called the Tehreek-e-Labaik Pakistan invented this phrase a few years ago, and it is used to murder people in Pakistan. Are you aware of that? Since you are using that phrase in Hyderabad, because you are clearly an Indian, not a Pakistani.
As I am not from Pakistan, I am not aware
so
of
why are you using a phrase? Why are you using a phrase invented by an extremist Pakistani radical group?
Sir, when it comes
are you a member of some terror group? Are you a member of a terror group or an extremist radical group that you are using their language in India, which is a democracy, not an Islamist republic? Are you a Pakistani to take their lines and use it here?
I don't have anything.
Who are you to say someone should be beheaded for their words?
I don't have
Who are you to say someone should be beheaded? Who are you to say that?
Sir, first of all, the thing is, what your channel is showing is a small video. It is not the complete thing. What was happening?
We've seen the whole thing.
You are not aware of that.
Syed.
So essentially, the BJP now has distanced themselves from T. Raja Singh, the MLA who made that controversial comment on Prophet Muhammad and thereby triggered this wave of protests. The Telangana police acted very quickly in the case of Raja Singh, taking him into custody. He was, of course, granted bail hours later. But there's been no action against all of those people who have resorted to making these slogans and chanting Sartan Se Juda on the streets of Hyderabad.
Namaz in front of Commissioner's office. Several shops in Old Hyderabad shut. Massive protest marches and dharnas. The Muslim community in Hyderabad is up in arms over BJP MLA T. Raja Singh's alleged remarks against Prophet Muhammad. Shocking Sartan Se Juda or beheading chants also echoed in the protest. Raja Singh had made the communal remark while attacking stand-up comedian Munawar Faruqui, who recently held a show in Hyderabad despite BJP's opposition. Hyderabad police arrested him on Tuesday morning for creating communal disharmony. The BJP has suspended Raja Singh from the party. Singh claimed that since Faruqui had made fun of Hindu gods in the past, he had no other choice.
ऐसे व्यक्ति का प्रोग्राम होगा, जहां प्रोग्राम होगा उस सेट को जला दिया जाएगा। हमें कल से अरेस्ट करके रखा गया है। अगर दम है तो हमें छोड़ के बताए। हमारी ताकत क्या है, हम क्या कर सकते हैं। मुनव्वर फारूकी यहां से सही सलामत नहीं जाएगा। मैं चैलेंज करता हूं केटीआर को, हमें छोड़ के बताए। जिसने हमारे रामचंद्र जी को गाली दिया, जिसने सीता मैया के ऊपर कमेंट किया, ऐसा व्यक्ति तेलंगाना से अगर सीधा चले जाए तो मेरा नाम बदल देना। अगर दम है तो ये पुलिस फोर्स हटा के बताओ।
Enraged by Raja Singh's remark, several complaints and FIRs were filed against him by Muslim politicians and activists. Congress corporator Rashid Khan threatened to burn down Raja Singh's constituency, Gosha Mahal, if no action was taken.
23 अगस्त के दिन राजा सिंह को हिरासत में नहीं लेंगे। 24 के दिन राशिद खान गोशा महल में दाखिल हो जाएगा। फिर लॉ एंड ऑर्डर को तोड़ने के लिए मैं तैयार हूं और मैं तैयार रहूंगा वो दिन भी। राजा सिंह हर वक्त हमारे हुजूर सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की शान में गुस्ताखी करते आया हुआ है। मेरा मुतालिबा है शहर का अमन सुकून गारत कर दूंगा अगर से मैं राजा सिंह को हिरासत में ले लेंगे तो।
The protest against Raja Singh saw MIM corporator Zafar Khan raising beheading slogans right in front of the police. The police are yet to act against Zafar Khan. A Muslim social media influencer also went on to recite the Sartan Se Juda chant, saying Hyderabad belongs to them.
Raja Singh said is it okay to raise slogans like Sartan Se Juda, beheading threats?
Madam, when we talk about Shariat, then in Shariat laws, for the person who use such language from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the only thing what can be done with him is Sartan Se Juda.
What will happen in your own city then?
आप हैदराबाद की हद तक जो है ना बेफिक्र रहिए. It's a very peaceful city and people like Raja Singh, they who deserve it, like the person who insults our prophet, then that is the very right thing said to the very cheap person.
The central committee has suspended BJP MLA Raja Singh from all his duties in the party and asked for an explanation within 10 days as to why the party should not take any strict action against him. It is to be seen what action will be taken by the Hyderabad City Police following this outrage. With camera person Damodar, Abdul Bashir, Hyderabad.